Hello, my name is Charnock. I'm a political science major at the University of Charleston and a freshman. And for my persuasive speech in my speech class, I did the decriminalization of all substances or legalization of all drugs. Alright, so to start off with defining decriminalization or the legalization of all drugs. What that means is to decriminalize the substances is to take away the criminality part and take away the criminal charges for using said substances. And it would be legalizing all previously illegal substances. And so the substances or drugs pertaining to the subject would be marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamines, and etc. All drugs that are used purely and mainly for recreational use, but some actually have medical uses. Alright, so as for the benefits of decriminalization, obviously we would have less incarcerations, seeing as the United States has more incarcerations and people in prison than any other country on the planet, and by far the most. And so, since so many of those are people who are in prison for victimless crimes, whether it be drug abuse or drug possession or selling of drugs where there is no victim, and they get heavy penalties for said crimes, obviously this would take more people out of jail instead of putting them in for a crime that isn't necessarily that bad, and also, just generally helps if more people are in the public and not getting felonies and criminal records that stop them from getting jobs and ultimately hurting their life. It will also hopefully decrease the amount of overdoses when you compare us to other countries who have legalized many substances or sometimes all substances. Their overdose rates per capita are less than ours, and we have criminalized said substances. So despite those countries having more access to those drugs and more people using them, we have more overdoses, higher addiction, etc. And also, hopefully, it'll result in a more educated populace, whether we teach about it in school and we stop, demonizing these substances, or if people have access to them and they're aware of what they can do, then it'll hopefully educate them on how to use them, or maybe not even at all, and then result in less deaths, less addiction, and a healthier populace. Alright, so for drug crime facts, in the United States we have roughly 1.5 million drug-related crimes a year, or people arrested, drug arrests a year. And more than 80% of those arrests are nonviolent, meaning it's just possession or selling or use. And that's an incredible number of people, over 1 million people going to prison for victimless crime. So to compare and contrast us to certain nations that have legalized it and decriminalized, for starters, the Netherlands, which has nearly every substance legal now, they have been doing this since as early as 1913, where they had marijuana/cannabis already legal, and as of today, they have nearly every substance legal. Portugal in 2001 was the first European country to completely decriminalize every substance, and that was in 2001, and they were just the first, so now more and more have it. So to compare the statistics of overdoses and how decriminalizing these drugs actually helps, the Netherlands in 2018 had 262 overdose deaths. Well, compared to the United States in 2018, we had 67,367 deaths. Now, you would obviously think that since the United States has more people, we're expected to have more overdoses and maybe we have more of a problem. But when you compare the number of people in the United States that had overdosed to a population, approximately 0.0002% of the United States population has died from overdose, while 0.00001% of the Netherlands population has died from overdose. So while we are a bigger nation, and the numbers should be less impactful, we still have a per capita higher overdose death, which shows that despite making drugs less available, we are hurting ourselves more. Alright, so lastly, the issues or counter-arguments for decriminalization. Obviously, there's no guarantee that our country will be successful. We are a mixing pot. Our culture is like no other culture because it's a mixture of every culture. So people's attitudes and ideals towards decriminalizing these drugs, it may not happen in the first place. But the idea is that it's for the common good and it's better than what we have now. And hopefully, if we can, instead of just throwing people in jail for using a drug that makes them happy for a certain amount of time and ultimately might leave them okay. Maybe we could educate them so they don't have to use it in the first place and whatnot. And the goal with this idea is to ultimately help people and get them off their addiction, or let them do as they wish, and ultimately have less overdoses and less deaths and have a healthier population. But we aren't sure we will react the same as other nations. Thank you.